Welcome to the Mike Minute with your host, Mike Lang.
Critical race theory, CRT, is a hot topic throughout the nation. Down in Texas, Governor Abbott, in the last legislative session, signed a critical race theory bill. The critical race theory bill is supposed to ban the teaching of critical race theory in K through 12. So now Texas, with other states, have laws that have been put in effect that actually say you cannot use CRT to teach in K through 12. Yet we all know that through Common Core, C-Scope, all these things still come in to public education in K through 12. And even in pre-K, if certain states have pre-K. Although CRT is not supposed to be taught in K through 12 in Texas, it seems like teacher preparation for the teachers that teach in K through 12 are being taught CRT. So how in the world can you not have CRT and being banned in Texas K through 12, yet you're still teaching the teachers what CRT is and how to teach CRT in the state of Texas? Let's look at a school board meeting in Granbury, Texas. It's the Granbury ISD.
I have a couple concerns with the U.S. Prep and what role they're going to play with the student teachers in Tarleton State. I know as a district we don't have any say over who they use, but I do have some concerns raised with the U.S. Prep and some of the things that I've found that is in their program. I'm not sure if it's part of the program that Tarleton will be using, but it does contain some issues that I addressed during my campaign. So if those are going to be in the program, I wouldn't be able in good faith to be able to vote for this. They have material online. Like I said, I don't know if it's part of the program that Tarleton will be using, but that material is available. It is part of some of the programs that they do implement. And I wouldn't, if they're going to be putting educators through that program here in Texas, and then we're incentivizing that through our district, I wouldn't be able to support that. As much as I would to support student teachers, I don't want to incentivize bringing that into our schools either, if that makes sense.
Sure. So I think for clarification, the curriculum piece for the student teachers is taught through Tarleton.
Yes.
It's really independent of Granbury
But there are
ISD.
requirements that U.S. Prep does require out of Tarleton through these ESSER funds.
I think from a local ISD standpoint, what I can tell you is the legislature has been clear on critical race theory not being taught in Texas public schools, and so we are going to honor that. As far as higher ed, I'll be honest with you, I'm not as familiar with what their requirements are as it relates to critical race theory and state funding.
Let's look at U.S. Prep's own website. The first thing they talk about is challenging the status quo. Challenging the status quo from what? That's what we have to ask. So they're challenging the status quo from the way society is now to the way they want it to be through CRT. Now, U.S. Prep was launched in 2015, and there are schools from Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, and others. And in Texas, they have Texas Tech, Tarleton, and several other universities, state universities involved. Now remember, the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, in K through 12 said there'll be no more CRT. Oh, by the way, who do you think funds part of U.S. Prep? How about the Gates Foundation? $34 million from the Gates Foundation. So yes, we've talked about Zuckerberg money going for elections. Now we're talking about the Gates Foundation to a tune of $34 million to U.S. Prep to use this model to teach teachers in the state of Texas CRT so they can go into the classroom K through 12 and do what? Yes, teach CRT. Comment below if you think at this point that U.S. Prep will be priming teachers to be the vessel to teach CRT in Texas schools K through 12. Let's take a look at the executive director, Laura Beal, from U.S. Prep, and a letter she put on the website. In America, we witness acts of injustice. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Christian Cooper, and countless others. As witnesses, we have a moral obligation to speak up, speak out, and act. We must do better and be part of the solution. Systematic racism has been woven into the very fabric of our everyday lives and society in which we live. At U.S. Prep, our coalition has vowed not to remain silent. The letter goes on and says, U.S. Prep continues our explicit commitment and actions to disrupt the inequities facing our nation's historically underserved students, most especially our Black, Latinx, Native Americans, and or economically disadvantaged students. So what U.S. Prep is talking about, and it's still listed on their page, the coalition page, is their commitment is to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that, folks, is CRT. And they're everything about CRT and how bad America is, how bad we've all been, and they're going to set it straight for all the equity things going on here in our schools. U.S. Prep is there to transform the teachers and the mindset of the teachers on how they teach kids K through 12. As we go on through their website, it says the teacher preparation programs across the nation, for U.S. Prep, of course, are charged with equipping the next generation of educators with the mindsets and tools necessary to provide a quality education to all students across the United States. It begins with the preparers of educators. Yes, it does. It begins with the preparers of educations, so they teach the teachers the CRT, and then they bring it to the classroom, and then inside the classrooms, they say, we're not teaching CRT here, yet what have they done? They've used the teachers as the vessel to teach CRT. Along with the socialists, the Gate Foundation, U.S. Prep believes that because the historical forces have resulted in inequitable educational opportunities for students in different races and classes, the coalition is particularly committed to take action to enable educators to redress the balances and disrupt the inequities. So U.S. Prep is teaching teachers to redress the balances and disrupt the inequities. So it's up to you, the parents, to step in, and the school board members, such as Courtney Gore and Granbury ISD, to step in and say, what is U.S. Prep? What are they teaching the teachers? Is it worth the money that they pay local ISDs in Texas and elsewhere to bring in and teach the teachers CRT, and they teach them to redress the balances and disrupt the inequities? Here we have a school board member in Granbury ISD that's concerned about K through 12 in her school district as a trustee, as a board member. And there's a college close by, Tarleton University, that will be training these student teachers, getting money from the federal government and the Gates Foundation, and bringing these same teachers into the classrooms. Now, on a collegiate level, there are schools, now it's K through 12 that doesn't have CRT, but on a collegiate level, universities, there are schools that teach CRT. And Tarleton is one of the schools. Now, when you go to college, when you go to the universities, you can expect different ideas, you can expect different ways of things being taught, which is truly understandable. But the people in Texas that say in the universities they don't teach CRT, they do. Tarleton University has at least 10 classes that teach CRT. You look at some of the education courses in Tarleton, that are for teachers that will be teaching in K through 12, and you have those courses like diversity and cultural responsive teaching for early grades. That's CRT. So we all know that universities are just a pool of socialistic ideas, Marxist ideas, and they take capitalism, they take patriotism for the most part, and they throw it out the window. So hopefully your kids, the students that go to these colleges, are well grounded in conservative principles and morals before they get to this point, and that's just part of the curriculum they need to pass and get out and move on with their lives. If you're a school board member in Texas, or you're a parent, or you're a grandparent, let us know what you think about CRT and teachers being taught to teach your kids CRT in the comments below. When we talk about CRT, critical race theory, and we talk about DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion portion of teaching your kids in K through 12, what they're really doing, U.S. Prep and other groups, are culturally, they're trying to change the very substance of what a man is, what a woman is, how they may or may not feel for that day, when in fact, they're destroying the family unit of a male and a female that get married to procreate. In our culture, that's what we do. So they're trying to change this and minimize it to your kids. And that has to be stopped. You don't want to take away the family unit. You want to bring the family unit closer together. So your kids are being indoctrinated into this theory along with the teachers who are being indoctrinated into this, all because the school districts want more money from these foundations and the federal government. It's all about the money, folks. Follow the money, and that money is destroying our foundation as a family unit, a morally sound family unit. What I see out there on social media, from Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, I see all the teachers out there that are just so in love with CRT and all the programs and inequities and all the unpatriotic things of how bad America is. But what I don't see is I don't see the morally patriotic teachers that I know we have standing up and fighting against this. And I think maybe if the teachers had some type of board member, president, superintendent that they could see as a leader in this, that would solve a lot of our problems in K through 12. So I'm looking for the teachers. It's your profession. This is your profession we're talking about. The morally patriotic teachers need to stand up and say enough is enough. We're going to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we're not going to worry about any of this garbage, and we're going to go back the way it used to be. But it starts with the parents, the school board members, and also with you teachers that need to step up. Let's turn around this country, and we can lead by turning around education. Please like and subscribe to this show. Thank you for watching the Mike Minute.